Hi, and welcome to the Three English Experts. I'm Birgit.
I'm Dave.
And I'm Rebecca.
And welcome to this episode.
Three English Experts is your English podcast to help you speak better English and create a positive and happy mindset for your English learning journey. Hello, and welcome to this episode. Today, our topic is going to be more of a mindset topic. First of all, excuse my voice. I've got a bit of a cold, so that's why I sound a bit croaky today, but I will do my best. As some of you know, I am not only a trainer, an English trainer, I'm also a qualified coach, and I'm also studying positive psychology at the moment. And as part of my positive psychology studies, I'm looking at the connection between languages and psychology. And I've always believed for a very long time that languages are not just an academic topic, and languages are emotional. Languages and how we speak and finding confidence, a lot of it is connected to emotions. So for me, mindset is a really important part of learning a language. It's not just about learning the mechanics of a language. It's also about having the right attitude, having the right mindset. Just to explain positive psychology, if you don't know anything about positive psychology is kind of one of the newer waves of psychology. So in the past, psychology often focused on what was wrong with people, what's wrong with us. So you looked into people's past and say, why do I feel like this? Why am I depressed? And the psychologists would try to fix this negative feeling. Positive psychology is very much more focused on what next? How do I make myself happy? Because people would understand why they felt sad, but they didn't know how to fix it. They didn't know how to feel better. So the focus of positive psychology is about building happiness, building well-being, promoting well-being, finding ways to lead a more fulfilled and a life with more well-being and happiness. Basically, that's the basic kind of concept of positive psychology. So one of the topics the main topic we're going to talk about today is authenticity. In positive psychology, authenticity is quite a key component of positive psychology because studies have shown that if you are authentic, then generally you have higher levels of well-being. So the question is, what is authenticity, first of all? And how is this relevant for languages? What does this have to do with learning English? Yeah. So first, I'm going to throw it to my colleagues here. First question, my co-hosts. Dave, when I say the word authenticity, what immediately springs to mind? Not necessarily about languages, but just generally, what do you think of when you think about you're being authentic? What are you doing?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. I think it's being yourself in some way or form, being real to yourself. I think that's the key message of being authentic or authenticity. Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Birgit? How do you see it? Do you agree?
Yeah, hello today to everybody. Yes, what springs to my mind is not playing a role or trying to be somebody else. So that's more or less the same as you say, being yourself, feeling connected to who you are, what you think, and not focusing on what maybe other people might expect from you.
Exactly.
And that's always a very thin line, I think, especially in
Absolutely.
business surrounding or
Yeah,
non-private life.
Yeah, it's been this inward and outward that they match. What your values and what you believe is also how you behave and communicate. And of course, often we all sometimes don't show our true face. Perhaps we show, like Birgit said, what people expect or what is expected in a certain scenario. But generally, authenticity is about being yourself and being true to yourself and your real self, like Dave said. The question is, can you be yourself when you are speaking a foreign language? So for our listeners who are maybe learning English, do you feel like a different person when you speak English? Is your English you maybe not as good or not the same as your German you or your Spanish you or whatever you are? And how do we deal with that? Because we're saying authenticity, being authentic promotes well-being, makes you feel good. Does that mean we don't feel good when we speak another language because we can't be ourselves? Which is kind of confusing. I wrote a post on LinkedIn about this a while ago, and it was my most successful post because so many people reacted to this post because I think it is a really big topic among people who speak numerous languages. So, Birgit, what do you think when you speak English? So obviously English is your strongest second language. How do you feel? Is there an English Birgit? Is your English Birgit different to German Birgit? How do you feel? Do you feel good? Do you feel different?
Obviously, I feel good. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this.
Right. You wouldn't be on the podcast.
If I felt awful talking English, then I wouldn't talk English, obviously. Yes, I think I am a little different maybe than I might be in German, because what goes into it is also a feeling. And there we are with the emotions again. So, but obviously, and this is a point I want to mention on why has it become so many reactions on your LinkedIn? Because it's an emotional topic. And you see, if people want to speak a language good or well enough, and they can't because they lack the ability, grammar and vocabulary, it's frustrating. They might want to be authentic selves, but they are not there yet. How to get there? As I'm concerned, and when you ask me about my English self, of course, due to the long experience and so many conversations I've had in English, I feel comfortable, and I felt comfortable in England learning the language. But there were moments, of course, when I felt awkward. It was hard. I couldn't express myself. And especially when you have an emotional situation, when you are excited or something, if you are excited, it's harder to find words if you're not
When you're
trained.
feeling emotional, it can be quite difficult.
So emotions are connected to the area in the head where the language
Exactly.
built,
Exactly.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, that is an issue. Dave, what about you? Was German your strongest second language? Yeah.
Yes.
Because you lived in Germany for so long.
Yeah.
Is German Dave different to British Dave?
Definitely, 100%.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay.
I think we touched on it in a previous podcast.
We did.
I don't feel myself in German at
Okay.
all. It's like two different people, literally. And I do wrestle with that because I would say, generally speaking, in English, I like to be a bit the laid back guy, the guy that has a bit of humor and shares the humor and tries to make people laugh, because that's how I feel I am. That's the
That's
inner
your
me.
authentic you, yeah?
Yeah, I like to be easygoing, not too serious or anything like that. And because I don't have native level German, or sometimes I don't feel that I'm able to make other people laugh or be funny in some cases, yeah, that sort of makes me feel
You struggle with that.
I struggle with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get better with it, but as I said, now I'm moving away from Germany. I don't really speak all that much German.
So it's changing again, yeah.
Changing again. With Spanish, well, I don't have a hope in hell's chance anytime soon to feel
There's no
authentic
Spanish
over
Dave
here.
yet.
No.
Spanish Dave doesn't exist.
No. I can understand how people feel not themselves when they're speaking a foreign language. Absolutely.
It is difficult. I think for me, I feel actually quite happy with German Rebecca. I feel very comfortable with German Rebecca. I do feel like I can express myself, not always 100%, but I've accepted German Rebecca, that German Rebecca isn't perfect. And we'll come back to this later about how to be more authentic and how to feel better, because there are some tips, I think. German Rebecca's quite bossy. I mean, British Rebecca's quite bossy, to be honest.
No, you don't say.
No. Mum and dad and my brother are sitting there going, no, she's really bossy. But I'm a husband. But German Rebecca's quite direct. You see, British Rebecca would be slightly more polite, use slightly different language. And German Rebecca, because of the culture, I've just learned to be a bit more direct and say what I want rather than talking around the point. Just say what you want and then you get what you want. You don't have to ask 20 sentences and make excuses. Just say what you want.
It's interesting. This is something I can't do.
You still haven't got over that step
No,
of the German directness.
No, I'm
polite,
still very British.
And you would still be standing in that bakery not getting it, because that was the story Rebecca said once. You would be standing there forever if you didn't.
Waving. Hi. I
want this. I need that.
Ich bekomme.
Yeah.
Yes.
One question I have about feedback, because I remember when I lived in England, obviously I was learning, trying to get on a higher level. I got the feedback, and humor was important there, that they recognize, okay, she's funny, she can express humor things. Is that important? And can you remember getting feedback from German people, David, you too, who then motivated you to go on and give you a good feeling? I think that comes into it as well when you learn.
You mean feedback about my language, or what do you mean?
About the language skills, yes. How people receive you as a person, or how they
To me, in Germany, it's very mixed. So on the one hand, people do compliment and they'll go, wow, your German's really good. And, oh, I didn't know you weren't German. But I have to say, there is also this German element of correctness where they will correct your mistakes.
Without asking.
Without asking. And it's quite harsh and you're trying your best. And they will switch to English sometimes when you're starting out, which is very frustrating because you're doing your best. And on the one hand, they're trying to help. They're trying to say, hey, look, I speak English. Don't struggle. But it can come across as quite patronizing. Give people a chance, support, or I don't know, you say der instead of die, and then they will correct you. And you think, oh,
I agree. I agree.
they can be quite, sometimes it's not always, we have a nice phrase, correcting without permission is criticism.
And the English are very good at that, being very polite. And
Really? Yeah.
I've always felt like that. Maybe that's a good thing. Again, that's very good about when you work with native people. That's supportive, motivating. Maybe. Yeah, motivating.
Dave, what's your experience with that?
Yeah, my German, I think, is good enough, but everyone can hear I'm English a mile off. As I said, I've come to live with it and I don't worry about it too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just will continue the way I'm going. I don't really have any ambitions to even improve my German anymore, really. But it's good to have, obviously, the positive feedback. It's great when you get that.
To me, that is about part of authenticity. It's like you say, you accept that and you're okay with your level's good enough. It's good enough for what you need. And that is a part of being authentic. Is authentic, people think it means being like a native speaker. Speaking authentically is like speaking like a native speaker. No, it's not. Authentic is speaking like you, is being you in your language. And so if you can do that with the level you have, you don't have to be C1, C2 to be authentic. It makes it easier because, of course, you can express yourself in a different way. But it's acceptance. It's acceptance of this is Spanish Rebecca. I quite like Spanish Rebecca. I don't like Japanese Rebecca. Japanese Rebecca is really boring because I learned from a business book. I've got zero humor in Japanese. And I hate that because I'm also a person. I like to laugh. I like to make other people laugh. And I cannot do that in Japanese. I'm just really boring. So I do like the language and I like learning, but I don't feel like me at all. Whereas Spanish Rebecca is quite good fun because I learned that during a party semester in Spain. Yeah, good time girl in Spanish, no problem. And in German, I can do everything. I feel like I can cover everything from parties to the tax office. So you've got these different registers. Just one other thing I wanted to bring up. And during my studies, I read a lot of papers on this topic. So it's a topic that's been around for a long time, actually, this linguistics and authenticity. And there are actually studies where they've studied bilinguals and interviewed them, asked them to tell us an emotional story. So there's a woman and she was like Portuguese, French, bilingual, had grown up one place, lived a long time in the other. And when they asked her to tell the story, they say exactly the same story with exactly the same questions in the other language, the interviewer said it was like speaking to a completely different person. The way she expressed herself, the way she spoke, her emotions, her body language, everything was different, which is really interesting. Yeah, different personality, I don't know, but I think we have different characteristics, which brings us to the next topic, which is called something called frame switching. So I don't know if you guys have heard of this before. Frame switching is something where you adapt your language to the scenario you're in, which of course is like, so if you're in a high-level business meeting with top people, you don't talk to them the same way you would talk to your buddies at the pub on a Friday night necessarily. You adapt your language to the scenario. And the same thing exists, foreign languages. So I said, for example, in German, I've become quite direct. That's a case of frame switching, is that you adapt to the culture because the culture here, that's the kind of culture you say what you want. You don't faff about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a case of frame switching. Birgit, do you think you do that in English? Or do you think you're more like you adapt to the British culture when you speak English? Do you think you frame switch, if you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I think I do. Because my husband said that when I am in England, I do much more of this sing-sang.
Oh, the way you talk, the intonation. Yeah. Okay.
I stress on things, so I wouldn't do that as much. So it sounds a bit exaggerated maybe to him, so he wouldn't do that. I think it's a little bit like mirroring, isn't it? You behave as the crowd behaves. I mean, what happens? And that's probably, or maybe the threatening part when you learn a language, because you want to do that, then you have the people looking at you and you're just not able to do it as fast. You feel scared, the emotions come in. And that's the inward, outward problem, maybe then. I don't know. I think I do. And even in Spanish also try to find the intonation, the
mirroring,
sound,
the mimic. Yeah.
I try to imitate what people do around me, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's important. When I learn a language, I try to imitate body language, intonation. I think that is quite important, I think, to feel more. And then on the other hand, though, people could say, well, then you're not being authentic. If you're normally like this and then you're behaving like that. But you can also say it's a way of building relations with those people. The Germans are really, really direct, and you're faffing around going, well, could we maybe perhaps sometimes maybe meet on, then you don't fit in the group anymore. And then you don't feel part of the group because the dynamic is different. It's quite complicated.
Yeah, but isn't it like learning a new game? I mean, there's some rules.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe there's some rules to the language. The rule countries function, the rule language works. So if you don't adapt to the rule and say, oh no, I'm going to talk straightforward, I might not have enjoyed it in England. I don't know, because people might not have understood me. So
I might not have accepted you. Yeah, right. Yeah. I think my example for me is the do and the Z thing in Germany was a big thing. Do you struggle with that, Dave? I've always struggled with the do and the Z because we tend to be more first name basis. So basically everybody would be do, like you. I always learned, Z is for older people and people in authority and stuff. But I sometimes struggle or I just forget. And I use Z for someone who I should be dudzening. And they go, Rebecca, we are now per do. And they get really kind of annoyed about it. And I think, just a language mistake. I'm not trying to say I don't want to be friends with you. I'm just
not used to
it for that second. And I just called you Z. I used the polite you by mistake. And they get really uppity about that sometimes.
Also, when you meet someone for the first time, I do not really want to use the Z form.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't really matter who they are. Good. Yeah, who they are, where they're from, the context, the situation. I really don't want to use a Z form. Okay, you have to make a quick decision. Okay, I'll go with the Z and see what happens. But most of the time, I'd much prefer to go with the do and things like that. So I think, that's a big... I've had colleagues who knew each other for many, many years, and they still said the Z form.
Yeah.
I thought that was absolutely ludicrous.
Can't get your head around that, yeah.
No, I can't. And I just went in there and said, do straight away. And no one seemed to worry about it.
I'm Dave, yeah.
Yeah. But the others still went with their Z. And this is something, to this day, I still can't fathom. I still can't understand.
Yeah, that's a DNA thing, I'd say. It's difficult to understand, maybe. And we need to get used to, it's the other way around now. When I have a reservation at restaurants now, they don't take my surname, even I send it. I have understood it's first names now.
Right, you're Birgit, yeah. Although I have to say, on the contrary, I've kind of adopted it in a positive way as well, because I realized, like you, Dave, I would always be dudzening everybody. And I'd be like, I'm Rebecca. Don't call me Frau Deacon. Hated that. Frau
Deacon.
Frau Deacon just sounds so like, I don't know, old.
How do you spell that?
Frau Deacon. Yeah, Diakon. They always get my name wrong.
Yeah, I know, but
so annoying. And I always used to say, no, I'm Rebecca, I'm dudzening. I was in a lot of situations where people who I didn't know that well would ask me really personal questions. Yeah. Things that I used to think, you really shouldn't be asking me that because you don't know me that well. They would ask really private questions.
Yeah, because you were on do.
Exactly. And one of my German friends said to me, if you go do, basically it's a free for all. They see that as now we're close friends and I can ask you anything. And I never thought about that before.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah. And I have to say that I changed my attitude a bit. So now when I feel like, no, you don't need to know my life story. You're going to be Z and I'm going to keep you at Z because I don't want to be dudzening with you. Would you agree, Birgit? Is that true?
Yeah, it's true because, well, I know that we Germans are very direct. We can be very direct and people tell you what you did wrong and things like that. So if you're on a Z basis, that means you have some distance between you. But as soon as you're on the do, that even gets worse.
Yeah,
you can tell them off. I mean, to tell somebody off at a Z level, that's a different one. You get into a personal fight, maybe, if you're buddies. I think that's what we feel there's a difference, as your friend also said.
Yeah, which is a good thing, I think. When you know that, I think it's actually,
Like borders, yeah?
you
Don't cross
appreciate
that
that.
border.
Yeah, don't cross that border. We're not Purdue, so don't you start asking me questions like that, because
Exactly. We need that.
one woman once told me I'd colored my hair and she went, "Your hair looks like a carrot."
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Rebecca, she
much.
said.
That's a great compliment.
What a compliment. Your hair looks like a carrot. And I just thought, you really don't know me well enough. I mean, I can laugh about it. It was very red, but it was very orange. But the point is, you can't say things like that. You hardly know me. And I just felt like so insulted.
Yeah.
But again, we were Purdue. So yeah, it's changed my attitude a bit.
Maybe what I've noticed also on that thing is if you say to somebody, how are you? Right.
Mhm.
So in British English, maybe American English, it's relatively superficial in the sense of how are you? I'm good, I'm fine. And that's it.
Like hello. It's like a way of saying
Yeah.
hello. Yeah.
We don't really want to know anything more
Detailed.
But I often had this, I don't know if it's the do or the Z again in German, but whenever you ask somebody in German, it's like they tell you their life story.
They do.
I don't want to hear that. Sorry,
You know.
it's good.
They get into very medical detail.
Yes.
They love to tell you the medical stories. Yeah.
It's so nice if somebody asks you, how are you? They don't
want to know. They want to tell.
We don't do that every day to ask somebody, how are you?
Yeah. And of course, it's not always superficial in English. Obviously, if I'm talking to a friend, I really want to know, like, how are you? Are you doing okay? But yeah, how are you? Here's my life story. Okay. To the final point, talking about, so how do we support our clients? How do you build authenticity if you don't feel authentic in your other language, in your second language? It is quite difficult, I think. Obviously, immersion is the best thing. If you can go and live in that country, or of course, that's not realistic for a lot of people. I'm never going to go and live in the States. Or I think one of my first points would be, it is important to identify with the culture of the language that you are learning. I find it hard to learn a language if I can't identify with the culture. If I just know zero about this country, the people, the culture, I can't warm to it. And I think you try to learn Chinese and you've never been to China, you don't have any relationship with Chinese people, you're not maybe interested in this culture, you're going to find it, I would say, very difficult to learn and be authentic. So I think if you're learning English, decide, do you like the Australian English? Do you like the American English? Do you like Irish English, English, decide and kind of, so Birgit's obviously very related to British English. She loves the British English. She lived in England, so she's kind of got this kind of warm connection. And I think that helps with authenticity when you can sort of, if you can't live there, you could do that. You could watching films, listening to podcasts, learning about the culture, reading books, maybe join a conversation class and make sure your teacher is from that country. So you get a little bit of an insight. I think that can help.
I agree.
Birgit, any other ideas for how to build confidence, build authenticity?
I think that's very interesting what you said, this warm up with the country, with the subject, with the culture, that comes with it, doesn't it? If you weren't interested in Japanese culture or Japanese at all, you wouldn't even start learning Japanese. I mean, the point is that some people need to learn a language, maybe need to learn English and are not so interested. But then, as you said, that might be a good tip. Find a role model, find somebody you like. There's definitely a person out there you enjoy watching, listening to, maybe even in the translation, but give it a try. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Find out. Maybe there's something you like about it.
Role model, I think, is a brilliant example. Find someone where you listen to them and you think, oh, I would love to talk like that. Or I like the way she or he talks. I like the way they explain things. I like their mannerisms. And role models, I think, can be really, really, and again, that's YouTube, going onto YouTube, watching films, relating to that is a good idea. Dave, any thoughts on building the authentic you, the authentic English you or authentic German you? Or?
No, I think, as you said, it's just feeling at ease with the culture. I know, or I sense that a lot of learners don't have this connection to English or England or America or whatever it might be. They kind of separate the two. So even if I bring in sort of cultural things, or even talking about, because I'm a big sports fan, for example, different types of sports, especially if you're going into Ireland with the Gaelic sports, or mention cricket or rugby, it's like, oh, doesn't interest me.
Yeah.
Why are we talking about this? What's this got to do with English? And then I think, well, okay, yeah, but it is connected to English. And if you go and live in England or Ireland or wherever, you will be confronted by that for sure.
And you might like it.
Yeah.
Who knows? And also it's a small talk topic, you know?
Yeah.
If you meet British people, then maybe they're interested in cricket. I mean, I'm not interested in cricket, but maybe they're interested in cricket or rugby. It's like carnival. Even if you don't love carnival, if you come to Germany, you have to know what it is, what it's all about, and have a little bit of connection to it. Even if you don't like it, I think it's important to know what it is to really understand where it's coming from, right? Birgit, did you want to say something about levels or confidence?
Yes, I wanted to talk about when is the point where people notice progress and differences. Obviously, when they come to us and have a coaching or a training with us, they want to improve. Some people stay for a short time. Some people keep on learning. And when's the point when they can say, now it's enough? You said that before, you're good enough. When is the point they can decide, I have changed now, I feel better? Sometimes that's what I notice. And this is why it comes into this episode. It's a mindset of thing. So there's obviously an active step you need to do to realize, okay, I'm making progress. So I've changed. I feel better now. It's easier for me to remember words. Maybe I have understood how English people, American people tick. I can connect better to this. And this is what sometimes I need to speak out to them and say, okay, I think your level is good now. So how do you feel about it? And then they say, oh, I'm a learner. And say, oh, yeah, but maybe you can now say, I'm an English speaker. I use English and I'm good enough and I'm not bad. I know the rules. I've learned a lot about this and that. This is a kind of mindset. Sometimes it seems to stay forever in the minds of people. They feel like I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
They've told themselves so often. So that's like negative affirmations. Well, think about some positive affirmations. Maybe not after the first lesson, but maybe after 3 months, 4, 5, 6 months.
And again, it goes back to this accepting.
Yeah, realistic look at,
My final point for authenticity would also be this forgetting perfectionism. I have a lot of clients who will confess, I'm a perfectionist.
Yeah, 120%. Yeah.
Yeah. And if that's your target in a language, you are never going to be perfect. You're just not. The day you accept that is the day that you can be fine with where you are and feel authentic, then feel comfortable. Like, this is me. This is German Dave or English Rebecca or Spanish Rebecca, whatever. This is how I communicate and I'm happy with this. I'm comfortable with it. And maybe it's not perfect, but it's okay. And I found my voice. I think this is the point. You're finding your voice in a language and it doesn't have to be perfect. It has to feel good and comfortable. And of course, improving your language, learning more vocabulary, learning the grammar structures, all of this helps you feel more comfortable because you've got the tools. But it's also this mindset of, like Birgit says, all this negative affirmations. Oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. It's just such a barrier to improving your English.
Yeah, and also we need to accept that it's hard sometimes. It is hard if you speak like a full day English, a weekend of English. And when we met in Valencia, we realized afterward we spoke English only. I think we could have spoken German. We didn't do. I don't know. I didn't get to know your German, Rebecca, and David that much.
Maybe better.
We didn't decide on that. It was just, and I felt after you asked me, is it difficult for you? And I realized, oh yeah, I feel a little tired.
Yeah. I noticed we went back to the hotel and I did think, oh, poor Birgit, bless her, she's been doing this all weekend. And we were all exhausted. And I thought, oh, poor Birgit, she's had to do this all weekend. I didn't even think about it because.
Yeah, you didn't even think about it. That's the point. I'm sure I made mistakes. Yeah. I'm sure I did.
I didn't notice that. I just suddenly realized, wow, that's pretty exhausting.
And that's the point, that it can be hard and you can accept it. And if I hadn't been willing to do it, I would have asked you, can we please change or can we speak German for a while? Yeah, that's okay.
The golden nugget.
Okay, so on this topic, I have the golden nugget for today. This is connected to positive psychology. If you're interested in this, I'm going to give you a link. The link is viacharacter.org. We'll put the link in the show notes. So it's VIA character, the word character.org. This is a big positive psychology site, and you can go there and you can take a survey. It's completely free. You do have to register. You have to give your email, but you don't have to pay. There is a paid version. Just do the free version. And you answer lots and lots of questions. And at the end, you get a report about your personal strengths, your personal strong characteristics. Is humor? Maybe Dave, you said you like humor. Maybe humor is your top strength. Or maybe it's empathy, or maybe it's kindness, or maybe it's loyalty or honesty. It's very, very interesting. It divides it into 24 strengths. There's lots of interesting vocabulary in there as well for our learners. If you're interested in talking about this, very useful for things like your CV, for job interviews, when they ask you what type of person are you, what are your soft skills. And on the topic of authenticity, I think what you can do, and I actually tested this earlier on, if, for example, kindness and empathy comes out as maybe your top characteristics, let's say, you can go to ChatGPT, type in and say, empathy is my top characteristic. Give me phrases. So I did it in German. Give me phrases in German that show empathy and help other people. Really good. I was so impressed. So it came up with things like, ich schätze sehr ihre Offenheit und or ich kann dich gut nachvollziehen, wie sie sich fühlen. And it kind of gives you these ideas of things you can say that reflect your personality, basically. So finding ways to talk, to be authentic, because it reflects the way you are as a person. Fühl dich gedrückt. I like that. It's this hugging someone. It's a nice way to show empathy, I think, in German. I looked up some humor ones as well, because humor comes up as one of my top characteristics. And it had all these funny phrases of things like kind of nice, fun phrases that I could use in German. So I hope that makes sense. That sounds a bit bizarre, but go to do the survey, find out your top characteristics. You say your top 5 or even top 3. Head over to ChatGPT and say, for example, I don't know, honesty or creativity is my top skill. Please give me 5 useful English phrases for this skill. And using those phrases could help you build in that kind of language into your English and make you feel more authentic.
Wow. Cool.
Wonderful. Makes perfect
Thank
sense.
you. Great nugget.
Great nugget.
Hey.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next episode will be around the Easter break time coming out. So we thought this would be a perfect time to talk about holidays. Public holidays, what happens over Easter, maybe the public holidays later in the year, in the May and June time, how we celebrate them, what we do, what we call them, also whether it's English or German. And that's going to be our main topic in our next.
Looking forward to it.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
See you then. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Would you like to meet us, the 3 English experts? We are really excited to say we are offering a live 2-day workshop in Cologne in September. It's going to be fantastic. We're so excited about this. You have the opportunity to meet us, to spend 3 hours with Dave learning communication techniques, 3 hours with Birgit working on your grammar, and finally 3 hours with me working on your mindset and your motivation. It's the perfect reboot, refresh for your English. And it's going to be insightful, it's going to be interactive, and it's going to be lots and lots of fun. If you're interested, head over to our special website. That's 3EnglishExpertsWorkshop.com. And places are limited. We're only taking a limited number of people to make sure the groups are small. So head over there now. We do have an early bird offer. So if you book early, you get a special price and you get lots of nice bonus stuff on top of the price discount. Get going, get over to that website, and we would so love to meet everybody. We are just so excited about this. So hopefully see you there. Thank you so much for pressing play today. If you enjoy our podcast, please share with your friends, your family, or your co-workers. Or you can also support us by giving us a thumbs up or a star rating or a review on whatever podcast platform you are using to listen to us. For questions and comments, you can also head over to our website, 3EnglishExperts.com. Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate your support. Have a great day and see you next time.